get the chance to in that sequence. Another back air here. Needles, bouncing fish. Is that enough? Yes, it is!
I lied! We're back! And it's gonna be K-Rool taking on Emba starting out here. We saw just a taste of Emba in the beginning, or in the end of the last match, and now Emba is back out to play. The reversal right there with the invincibility, baiting Geo to do something, anything, but Geo holds the resolve, and that gives them another edge guarding situation, another chance to finish off this stock with the up smash on shield with full rage. That will do it.
All three are going towards long. He's going to be able to isolate one. There's one. Can you isolate the second? Now this has become a 1v1. Here's the opportunity that Glitch was looking for. Spike not being held. Oh my comedic. Obviously that's Heard. Has to get on the spike. There's the head.
Wait.
Quick dash here from Morgiana though to open out this round. One's going to be pinged.
Okay.
Find one.
Okay.
Find two.
2 full force buys or full buys away from taking it into OT. That doesn't particularly help, nor does that. It may very well be it, though. The fact they took so long is going to be their Achilles heel, but they will be able to defuse behind that wall. I don't know if it's wall bangable. It doesn't matter. Glitch will be able to find the shot they were looking for.
Coming in as reinforcements, gets a touch as well. There's still one more defender in the name of Troy,
Ooh,
but no
demo.
longer with the demolition.
Nice.
Fired shot from Zernite ties it up. We're trying to see if Zernite can split open this goal differential a bit more. They have made themselves go under less pressure here. Vaudable didn't have 17 shots registered on them, but they might in this game. Number 3
does go the perfect direction for Pelosa after they give it off to the other side. They're trying to go for the center. They're trying to go for the bump, but they can't get anything. Grasping at straws, and they have buttery fingers as it goes the other direction, and FIU take the victory.
Oof, it's always got that conga line in terms of power and being able to know who's going in first. And there goes Sizer with a 4K, and they're still actively trying to scale this space. Look at this Pristine coming straight on up to Zysa. There's one right behind him as well. Looks like Visor might fall, and that's exactly what happens.
What started out with yet another Pristine opening pick has turned into a 1v1 that Anchor desperately needs to win. Time starting to tick, and Anchor will deliver.
Getting that aftershock down. And now we wait! And this aggression! Oh! Henzo!
Damage. Oh, they put the Immortality Field down. Another Coalescence out from Grebka destroys that Immortality Field. The Maywall trying to play a defensive blockade, but it's just not going to be able to. Both Lucio's down. Cammy bites the bullet early on, and the Annihilation gets annihilated with the rest of Staten Island.
Now, Primal online, Nanoblade almost as well.
Oh, Nanoblade comes out. Wow, poor Grebka. How many deaths on the board? Doc has gone down. It's a 4K from Chongyun, and it's a very impressive one at that. A wonderful opening from Staten Island for some reason. Okay, I'm back.
Hoping that you're going to be having a completely free evening because we are entering into week 2 of Valorant ECAC. My name is Sam Tonks, joining me none other than the spectacular Nerds Corner. And Nerds, we have one heck of a matchup tonight with Brooklyn College Maroon going up against Tiffin University Varsity.
Yeah, the varsity roster here. Interesting. I'm excited to see it. They map picks. When we got them, I think me and you both reacted really positively. We really excited almost for the map picks because off bat, Lotus and Ascent both not in contention at all. We're going to be going to Split and Breeze to kick things off here. And I personally, as a nerd, am super excited since I love Split and I love Breeze.
Yeah, exactly. And then to have that kicker, that decider being Icebox, there's just so much going on here. We usually get the specialties of, all right, let's see what we got with Lotus. Let's see what we have with Ascent. And obviously with what we saw, especially out of Challengers, right? Those two maps, very extremely popular. And so to see Collegiate kind of leaning away, at least in this matchup, from those two maps is something that's really exciting here. And I think is going to open up tonight to be an interesting showcase of what these teams have been cooking up with. Now with Split is still kind of that map where we kind of have an idea of what everything's going to be looking like, kind of the agents that we're going to be seeing here, even though some of these agents have been going through the ringer when you think of agents like Sky.
Yeah, the Sky nerfs personally have hit me close to home, but I do understand kind of where they're coming from. In some senses, when we talk about the Sky nerf, some people it's nerfed and buffed in a way. And the reason I say buffed is her flash actually will flash at the end of the duration, which is technically a buff because it originally didn't, and that's a positive thing where you can send a flash out. But it's also a nerf because there's so many funny clips of people throwing a Sky flash and then immediately capitalizing off of the anti-flash players who are playing anti-flash, picking off the person peeking and potentially getting a solid 3-piece. But generally it is kind of a buff because you can create lineups and other things with the flashes. It also does, I guess, even out Sky because no other initiator in the game has rechargeable flashes other than Gecko. And with Gecko, it's risk reward. You have to go pick up Dizzy instead of just being able to spam that through and just waiting with time. So it's balanced at least.
It's something that, like you said, a lot of Sky players have been feeling, but I still think at the end of the day, she's a really strong initiator, and her potential to be able to gather the way that she does, obviously something that's going to be really something that we need to keep an eye on, and whether these collegiate teams are still going to stick with her or try to move on to something else. But we're going to get all of that information and more nerds now that we step into the agent select. And hey, you know what? We talked about her a little bit, but there you have it. You can't just get rid of the oldies and the goldies just like that.
And honestly, with Sky being brought up here, I personally am curious to see how teams adapt to it. I want to see Gecko, and I would love to see Breach, especially on Split. Those are two really strong initiators. But if they were going to switch out Sky, obviously Sky being the longest standing initiator on this map, maybe even some double duelist compositions. Speaking of initiators, we see a a KO hover. I guess I had Gecko on my mind, green in there, but no, KO instead. And personally, I think that's also a great choice.
Okay, Brooklyn leaning towards the double sentinel right now, hovering. We see Sauron Sage locked it in now, so that's going to be our first choice. I haven't seen Sage in a long time for Split. She makes still a lot of sense, right? Being able to wall off mid, preventing anyone from coming up there. But you also think of Viper, right? Taking up that role, being able to put her wall down in mid and kind of having that be sort of the same thing, or using an Astra in that respect as well. But I haven't seen Sage in a really long time. Brooklyn bringing out some really old school strategies.
It's interesting since Brooklyn is going to be starting off on attack. They're leading us in with that. The fact that they're picking double sentinels, at least partially in my mind, I think they're going to play for that second half. This is something I've seen a couple of times in Collegiate where teams are kind of comfortable with a specific comp. They've trained it and they're more comfortable on the second half being the more, I mean, you win in the second half type of game, and having that mentality can work out. Also having a maybe slower play style. Something I would also love to see is how the double duelist composition comes out for Tiffin, as they're going to get potentially more aggressive on site when we flip sides, and even on attack. Are they going to be pushing out a lot more? Are they going to be taking that mid space? All things that I'm really excited to kind of dissect as the game progresses.
Yeah, the double duelist composition that we are getting, it's also something that I found to be very interesting, considering that they're going to be on the side of defense as well. From Tiffin, that used to be, when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, that's kind of a scary proposition, right? You're going to have to rely on your double duelist composition to be able to hold it, but it's surprisingly effective, especially when you consider Jet really more so. You give her the operator, play it that way. Oof! The doors have opened, the gates have begun. Already we're seeing a little bit of damage, but Asura walks away with that little smidge of health, but spread out all across the map for the moment, nerds. That's what we're getting out of Brooklyn.
And I think I mentioned this, right? Since they have double sentinels, they're going to potentially play slower. We do see a lot of explosive starts, but also when you have a composition like this, it's not too surprising that they're going to take their time. They don't have the power of double duelists or even double initiators as the site take commences.
Okay, Han Solo had the utility out, but even with that, still is able to claim the first blood, the first kill of this series. Going to Tiffin. In the way over onto the other side, King of the North is going to make their mark known, screaming it at the top of their lungs, and just walking right through there, all over the place. Han Solo, just a couple of those shots, is going to pay the ultimate price for it with their life. Now left all alone. Omega might try to swing things back as best they can. Their best is not going to be enough. Tiffin taking this very first round.
Solid play there from Han Solo Burger, just holding it down in mid. Not managing to hit the mark, unfortunately, but that's the power of the double duelists, is the retake capabilities of space. Whether you're retaking in mid or you're retaking specifically on a site, it's really powerful. Another thing to note, since they just won, they're going to be buying up, and they're buying up into an outlaw, I presume. I personally haven't seen too much outlaw gameplay, so I'm generally ecstatic to see it and talk about it. But I think in the current meta, it's fun, it's nice, it's a change of pace.
There it is.
Ooh.
The change of pace is a change of death. Already out of here, but that's what you get out of the outlaw. Any shot on the body, even with light shields, they are gone and out of here. You put that in the hands of a Jet. It's like having an operator in round 2, and now King of the North has their next target. For Asura, they're gonna have to be so careful getting out of there. There is nothing to be found. A beautiful, flawless round from Tiffin University. You know, you kind of expect that to happen, but still in the way that it was done, you kind of just cut the head off of Brooklyn just like that.
True. It's going to be the buy-up round, and something I do agree with you on is it does feel kind of like an operator. 140 to the body, especially when your enemy either has no shields or light shields. If they do decide to force buy on that second round, it's really strong here. This is kind of where I'm really curious. How is it going to hold up in the bonus round? Realistically, if you're getting those headshots, I think it's like 280 to the head, and that is a one-shot headshot. Oh,
so just a little bit of the pixel. Kira, look at how much health they do not have. And a reminder of the power of this outlaw. Now, you're also going to force the regrowth out. It looks like we have, is it another kill, a disconnect? Whatever's happening here. Han Solo Burger is just tearing right through them. 3 kill, my goodness. We cannot be seeing a bonus round ace here. With Noodle all the way over on the other side of A, their entire team gone. And they're looking at a 1v5. Really, and they've been found out. The camera knows exactly where they are, and the hunt has begun. Get Han Solo Burger this ace, whatever it takes. But Noodle says no thank you, and then on top of that, they get the second kill to go with it.
And this is BC's Brooklyn bot. Sorry,
Yep.
I'm stunned, a touch stunned for words here. Solid 4-piece coming out, but Brooklyn purchased and bought up. Just unfortunately not able to hold it together. The site take did not stick. That's going to be Noodle falling. Unfortunately, we don't get to see that ace, but we do get to see a 3-0, winning not only the bonus, but picking up a really strong economic lead here. We see all Vandals full shields, assuming full utility for everyone. King of the North not even falling in this game yet. We got 0 on that KDA. And that just goes to show how dominant I feel like Tiffin is on this. Now, interestingly, to add some context, this was picked by Brooklyn College. So they might have something cooking on that defense side. I think I was touching a bit on it. I always like to play on both sides on like how it plays out. So we'll have to see.
Ooh, you're talking about something cooking, Kira. Just gave us a appetizer, a sampling of what they may be having tonight for Tiffin. But they still have so much left to work through. A nice weapon upgrade here. Razor's gonna throw it right back into their face. Hey, you cook something? Well, Razor's ready to come at you with a full course meal, and then you just go right to the waiting arms of creamy gunk sauce. You use the showstopper, funnel them all together. Brooklyn College, nerds, if they're whatever they're looking for on defense, well, they gotta translate something here into their attack.
I'm just the first shot was immaculate, but then from there their sight take kind of didn't like come through. The layers of utility weren't as, I would say, strong, and that kind of makes sense. They were on an eco. This is the round we're really gonna see them push forth potentially if they can win this round and take it back into their hands.
Wow.
Maybe, especially with Omega finding the opening pick on King of North, finally getting that first death.
Pull it away. Signal. Trying to slow them down. Using their own guiding light. Wants to go for the operator so much. But that operator retake is going to give them massive losses here. And this is something that Brooklyn College needs to take advantage of. But it feels like they're stalling out. Making sure, though, taking their time, going through this. This might be an opportunity that they could have used to rotate. But they are so stuck on wanting to go onto the site. No one cleared out into that corner, and where things were looking so good for Brooklyn, it's now all coming back into Tiffin University's court, and you're leaving Noodle alone. But it doesn't matter. The neural theft giving away the location again. Inside of there, Creamy Gung Sauce trying to take that jump shot. You're looking down on the ground below. What a flick and what a clutch from the jaws of defeat here, Nerds Corner. But that was still so close.
Good on Brooklyn, because generally speaking, their aim was really crispy in that round. Not only finding an opening pick on both King of the North, but also just getting a decent amount of space off of it. I still really want to give hats off to both Raze and Cypher for playing it so calmly on site. We know Raze not going in as ecstatically, not really bursting out there and finding multi-frags, but instead playing further back, a bit more reserved to then find the frags and then push in and take that space back. But when it came down to it, the aim was crispy on Noodle, which, you know, that's what you want to have, not only out of your duelist, but also out of your entire team. Hats off to them.
The only thing that scares me here for Brooklyn is that it's relying on kind of these hero plays to win out in these rounds. And that's something that Tiffin University hasn't struggled with just yet. We're going to be keeping an eye on whether or not this is going to be something that's fixed as the rounds go on. But a win is a win. And this is something that Brooklyn has desperately needed to slow down the momentum of Tiffin. King of the North has suffered in the first blood these past couple of rounds, but they are not going to let that happen again. It's still a trade, though. Kenny, not ready to be stabbed in the back by Razor. Now you're going to put forth even more with the boombot going down there. Going to put Sage or Cypher in a difficult position, but hey, difficulties abound, doesn't really matter.
That neural theft getting popped can give them some potential to try and not only reclaim that spike, but also some room. But unfortunately, with the Zero falling, it's looking bleak.
It's looking incredibly bleak. Thankfully, you still had the Omen ultimate TP'd into there. Fortunately, Noodle's aim, they used all of it up in the last round, and Omega caught inside of the tripwire, able to step out of it, thankfully enough, but look at how swarmed they are. That's still one, but two more to go. A lot to chew through with only 5 HP and 12 seconds on the clock. It's almost being forced out, but they go one after another right into it, and that was so close here for Tiffin University, but they were still able to get that final kill, but I mean, these rounds are coming down to the wire, nerds.
Not only are they coming down to the wire, Sam, but at the same time, like you mentioned, the hero plays that we see from Brooklyn, they're good. Omega with that ultimate coming in clutch, but at the same time, it's just been rough. I feel like it's been a touch scrappy. The layers of utility, right, for Tiffin when they have Raze and Jet, as long as they have one of those alive with Sky, that combination, I think, is really strong. We've only seen one death on Sky so far in this entire game. And with Sky staying alive, that gives them so much power for flashes and info and heals.
Oh, no way that just happened.
What a
and then
duo.
purchase another second of life. Han Solo Burger getting rid of Kira. Thankfully, that's what you got Noodle for Brooklyn. It's oscillating, it feels like, with the Cypher player. Sometimes they land those clean shots, sometimes they don't. Thankfully for them, though, it is going to give them at least something to look forward to. But then Han Solo Burger, it's on top of ramps. Shots going wide, and Omega's going to answer back in kind with the classic. Razor caught out there, but King of the North has set themselves up on ramps with the Outlaw. Looking to go for that final shot, that final kill. 3 for the Outlaw player. King of the North bringing Tiffin University into their 6th round 1.
Just to talk a little bit about the team play, Han Solo Burger taking an aggressive fight, but not being untradeable. Razor was there, and not only was Razor there, King of the North immediately comes through and it's like, all right, my teammate just fell down here. Razor is blind. I'm here to trade out my teammates if they fall. That team synergy for Tiffin has worked out so well for them. On top of that, just being able to rely on teammates like Creamy and with Signal Wolf to stay alive and win them those rounds, it's working out so well for them.
But I always love these kind of plays. You use the utility, flashbang Asura out where they can't see nothing. It's back and forth between these two teams, really cutting the wire against them, and they know the operator is hiding out up here. They're taking so much splash damage from the utility. You're gonna have to play it very carefully. You're gonna be making any more moves. A couple of the kunais from King of the North as the Cypher Cage goes up, but no kills from it on the other side. They're looking at Creamy up on top of here, back and forth. The right click tries to go for Creamy Gunk Sauce, but they are still standing tall, and they are not going to let this go. They're not going to fall down without a fight.
Signal Wolf taking out Omega is going to cement it almost. Last player standing. Oh, whoa, he's done a decent amount of damage. I was just going to mention how it looked almost unwinnable, but BC slowly bringing it back. Another thing to mention, just being so comfortable leaving A open. There's just a Cypher set up there. Like, oh, we can all go B.
45 HP, bloodied and bruised. Not dead yet. King of the North played it a little bit too long, but they have that outlaw. As long as they can land the body shot, that's all they need. But Kenny, the headshot was there. Thankfully, Razor comes up again. Oh my goodness.
And again,
another one of these rounds, nerds. Another one of these rounds.
It's just a matter of like, even though Han Solo Burger, I was kind of raving about how they were playing off of each other. Han Solo Burger in the early round, taking some fights mid, unfortunately losing. It's a 1v3 there. But when it comes down to the wire, to these last clutch situations, they're just good at playing numbers. Tiffin is playing their numbers really well without utility, right? King of the North dies, immediately Razor swings. It's not even a question. And that's what you want out of your duelists. That's what you want out of your players. The combination is really strong for BC at the same time, right? They might be cooking for that defensive half, or they might be trying out to play even more aggressively here. But regardless, the remedy needs to be found.
There's a band-aid on the boo-boo. Quick res here, but Creamy Gunk Sauce has everything they need and more. Flawlessly well done here from Tiffin. As again and again, the momentum just does not stop for this team. And I want to touch on something real quick, nerds.
Sure.
King of the North goes for these outlaws, but they went for the outlaw in that round because they knew the economy of Brooklyn was broken. It's that kind of foresight that you get from that weapon, knowing that you can abuse it in these situations.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing a lot of Tiffin purchasing up the outlaw with full confidence that they're going to be able to get value out of it. And with, honestly, it's refreshing to see how it's fitting into this meta and how it's kind of changing things up. Ooh, unfortunate Rosa there for Razor. Again, the Cypher setup towards B, they're very comfortable leaving him here.
What is going on? What are you doing here, Razor? Where are you taking us? You're going on a world tour of Split. Brooklyn College, the bleeding has just been so intense. But if this works off from Razor, this might just be the crippling blow that Tiffin University could be able to have to take this map of Split in such a convincing fashion. And they are still working through there, but with a trip that is going to find them out. 1 for 1, again and again. On the other side of this, Han Solo Burger. The Neural Theft was coming in and they needed to get back into the vents towards that safety. They already took a smidge of damage already from Asura. With that, they know that they're on the other side, and they also know that Razor is coming up from the flank, so they're just pinched in. There's really nowhere left for this team to go through except for fighting their way out, and now all alone is Kenny. But they're still gonna do it. We know what this player is capable of. They have this weapon upgrade. They just need to go for the one more. But one more is just too much. Tiffin University again.
And this is where Split, okay, to talk a little bit about the map choice, Split has been consistently and generally like a defense-sided map just because of the way that the chokes are set up, at least in my opinion from what I've seen out of a lot of collegiate teams. because the chokes, like, you either take ramp or main, and then you set Cypher up there, or for B site, it's just through a garage, or you go for a B split. It's a little bit rough in comparison to other maps, and therefore I'm not too surprised Tiffin is taking it away. That's why we see those double duelists. That's why we see that either double initiate or double duelist setup, because you're trying to blast through the chokes and really take those fights off rip. And that's what we're not seeing, I think, out of Brooklyn right now.
Getting away with it. How do they keep doing this over and over again with no punishment, nerds? It's leaving my jaw dropped.
It's also just, I think, comfortability, right? Think about the mental 9-1 at this point, and Tiffin, they're just comfortable. They're playing their game, and mentally they're not restrained in any capacity. They're okay with taking those ego peaks, and it's something we do need to discuss on broadcast. Like, it's a mental game at the end of it. Brooklyn, as rough as it is, they need to like compose themselves a bit and try to get those fights.
But you can't compose yourself when you keep getting assassinated
from the
every
side.
Single time. Someone comes up from behind you. It doesn't matter if they're in front or behind. It's just
no flank utility either.
Tiffin knows exactly what they need to do, and they have an idea of where everything is. Omega's able to get away with this one kill because they TP'd into the site, but now we're okay, Omega. This may still be something, but we're talking about these hero plays. They donned the cape. They tried to put it on, but unfortunately, it falls off the shoulders. Tiffin University now stepping foot into the double digits.
And this is where Tiffin's feeling, I feel like that confidence that I was talking about. King of the North just peaking solo, not being tradable, or not being as tradable, but just having that confidence regardless to take that solo peak. For Brooklyn, right? I think you heard me murmur it, right? The utility, I feel like they have a lot of Sentinel utility, but for flanks and for these pinches that have been coming out for Tiffin, they haven't really been, I think, prioritizing it as much.
Kenny's gotta be, they gotta know this is coming. Okay, they do. And they capitalize on the kill, but it doesn't matter because look at what just, the massacre in mid by Razor. And now Kira, a little bit of damage. Razor only has 6 HP, so may be able to capitalize off that kill, but I mean, Brooklyn's not in much better condition. They bleeding all over the place, but they are, for the first time in a very long time, with numbers in their favor, and against 2 duelists, one of them with only 6 HP. The spike has been planted. This battle is still far from over. It's King of the North, it's Razor. They can't see a dang thing. King of the North in an unenviable position, a 1v2. They try to go for the defuse. The defuse costs their life, but hey, this is still a first half Nerds Corner that you were going to brag about every single day.
I mean, it's a solid first half, 10-2, already hitting double digits, 3 more, and we're on to the next map. The thing I wanted to mention there, just being not only the consistency that we've seen from Tiffin about being tradable as a consistent thing throughout this series, maybe on the next map, if we see it, but also just how Brooklyn College kind of adapted. I'm happy that they adapted, even though it took a little while. Just, again, being really aggressive. The criticism I had was, like, be aggressive. Take that space. And they did. And they look at how well they flourished. Hopefully, this regains them some confidence and spices up the second half. Gives us something to see. They are on defense with double Sentinels. Double Sentinels. They have Asura down mid, and they have Noodle as well. So, the potential is there.
Noodle's on B, and so they're leaning the rest of the team on this A site. And they read it perfectly too. They know where Tiffin wants to go, but the way that Tiffin has been playing is still something that Brooklyn needs to be so careful when it comes to taking these fights. The wall has been put up in mid, so now nothing left here for Asura to work with to slow down this assault. Whether or not they picked up those slow orbs. Oh, this is beautiful. They just tried to run it down into there, and Tiffin University is hemorrhaging in the numbers. They're going to try their best to equalize it wherever they can, but King of the North is all alone in this initial pistol round. The blind comes in, it's one more shot, but Kenny is not going to let this fall through Brooklyn College's fingers, and it does not.
They're cooking on that defense side, a lot stronger of plays, playing closer together when they're taking their ones and just being able to be confident leaving that Cypher over towards B instead of immediately, you know, being cautious of it. They just immediately rotate, being okay, we have confidence here. It's the pistol round. They're trying to get aggressive here with the double duelist composition. We need to rotate resources, and it works out so well for them. And that solid read is potentially going to give them some rounds here, especially because we see, right, not only is this going to be their bonus round, but also potentially the start of their rampage on the defensive side.
And they heard, wait a minute.
Oh my god, saw him. No!
It is just as easy as that sometimes, but Creamy Gunk Sauce, so desperate to get that new shiny weapon that was left on the ground. Kenny is going to punish them massively, but still a pick off the board. That's what you're looking here for, Tiffin. You're looking to deal as much damage as you possibly can, and they're still trying to figure out what the plan of attack is going to be and how they're approaching this.
They do have Spike dedicated basically towards the B side of the map, mid to B, and they have not an insane deficit in players, so there's some room to work with here. For BC, the golden lining is they've been playing a lot stronger and a lot better, being able to take their ones.
Oh, Kira missing these vital shots. That is still something that's so very scary. Razor only has 12 HP, thankfully. A regrowth always gives them right back to where they want to go. But now we're seeing a playbook being stolen. Just be the distractor. Take away the attention so Kenny can work their magic. Blinded out, but even through the flash, Razor is not missing. I can't believe my eyes.
They have better weapons. BC has just picked up weapons and they might steal it. Might is a strong word here, Kira. Saw some missed shots, but not today.
A 1v1. It all comes down to this. The final remaining player, Noodle, is still on B, waiting for the spike to be planted. Just enough time for Razor. It's all eyes on Noodle and how they're going to approach this, but it's a bulldog versus a bulldog. Neither side working with much in the form of utility. And Noodle needs to play this as best they can. Looking all over the place. They drop down onto the ground. And that one fire, that one shot has to give Razor knowledge of where they're going to be. But look at the dance between these two. Wait for the right moment. Just around the corner. Razor's going to throw the grenade. The first shot has been rung. But now it's just all playing ring around the rosy. Go for the defuse. Try to get it on the half. Looking back over towards their back. Razor needed to save the day for Tiffin, and they have 4 kills on the board. But that is still
such a solid play.
I mean, you think about how that could have gone. Wow.
It could have gone either way there, and just kind of break down the thought process as like the drop, either they're going to swing or they're going to be playing further back for the time in a 1v1 on lower HP against a Cypher. Probably the smarter move and correct move, since it works out, right? Whatever works in play works. Not only did they find the pick, but they stalled that spike, and being at 11-3 now, picking up a round after losing your pistol, not being on an eco, it's gonna have confidence.
Oh no. Okay.
Oh my, with that opening as well.
It's all going. It's just going to in a handbasket is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
It started out so normal, it started out so peacefully, but it's still Tiffin University to be the victors of that bloodbath, and not only that, be able to plant the spike where Brooklyn is gonna have to try and pick up the scratch, pick up the broken glass.
I saw the vision with the Omen TP, but it was rough. Now with Creamy Gunk Sauce. Oh, gets caught off guard.
Looked away for far too long. Now we're in a similar situation. Just add one person to the previous round. I'm getting a weird sense of deja vu here, but Tiffin has time on their side. The spike is ticking away. They need to go fast. Slowed down by the flashbang. They need to. Asura needs to give Brooklyn something here.
1v1.
But it doesn't matter, because now we are looking at a Tiffin University match point.
At this point, we see players like Razor and King of the North, just solid entries. It might be some time to like reflect, maybe play retake. There's just a lot of things that can happen here. I saw the vision there with Omega as well, trying to play off utility and the TP in to catch players off guard. But just the common theme, Tiffin really good at keeping those numbers up and making sure that when one player falls, that is used as a resource rather than a negative. Just taking positives out of those things every single time. The showstopper comes.
Wait a minute! Razor thought they could get away with that, but Kira said, no, 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 not today, excuse me. Han Solo Burger had to have just an inkling of an idea that Jet was still going to be behind those smokes. All right, both sides playing some pretty impressive Valorant right now. Thankfully, you still have Noodle able to bail things out for Brooklyn College, but the bailout, well, the money's out, the money's gone, and it's a 3v3 as it continues to unravel almost in its entirety. Spike is going to be planted. The last player is starting to make their walk up through here. And what a flick to send Tiffin University into a map 1 win.
And that's going to be 13-3?
13-3.
13-3.
13.
Not only does it rhyme, but also it's just kind of like a little a touch, I guess, somber. It was the pick of Brooklyn College, and you know, you want to start seeing teams with these strats, comps, and play styles. And again, I kind of read into it like, oh, they potentially have that defensive half on lockdown. But when it's 10-2, it's rough. It's just a rough first half for them, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen on the next maps. What's going to happen on the future. I'm just thinking about it, right? Like Tiffin, they had such a good job staying together, even in chaotic situations, making sure, like I mentioned, that they used every advantage that they got. So now for Brooklyn, they're going to be looking to do some damage in a different way. And with Breeze being the next pick, I like it. I think it's going to be a little bit better. I think it's going to be a bit different.
Yeah, I think so too. Breeze is still kind of that map where if you don't have the right composition, the right setup, it really does work against you. And then that's not even factoring in the new change to Breeze, right? Halls is open once again, and that gives just a bevy of options for the attackers, and it makes it that much more difficult for the defenders. It makes me still a little bit nervous for Brooklyn, especially with what we saw out of their defense. But they did like to go for that double sentinel. They did want to go for it, and they tried their best. I just don't know if it was the right choice for split. You think it could be, especially, and that's also considering the fact that they started off on attack.
Yeah, I think that was the roughest part for them, is that they didn't default as much, or like decisiveness of either we're going to be rushing it in and making it a 5v3 or 5v2 on site. Even if it's a 5v4, you're not going to see a 5v5 on site, just taking and playing those numbers versus potentially playing a default and having your sentinels split up. There was even a moment where I think Cypher was lurking towards A, and then they were playing down mid for Brooklyn, and there was just no flank watch. There's no flank utility. Both of them were looking down, and they got caught off guard multiple times. That had happened where they were getting caught off guard by Tiffin just being aggressive and taking space, which pleases their comp so well, going for double duelists. And I think at that point it just comes down to, like, it was 10-2. They had it rough, and then they tried coming in together. They had some confidence, but Tiffin also had confidence since they were 10-2. They were comfortable losing some rounds, especially the pistol. They're like, oh, we can potentially take this into a round win. And I wish I could just do a masterclass on that pistol round that they not the pistol round, sorry, the bonus round that happened, because Tiffin managed to get it down not only to a 2v2, but they also managed to win out in that 2v2.
It's something that I think is just really phenomenal that we got that performance out of Tiffin University, but we can still see if Brooklyn College Maroon is going to be able to turn things around on Breeze, or if they are going to become just a breeze in the wind after this break. Tiffin University has drawn a line in the sand. Brooklyn College needs to try and stamp over it. Otherwise, we are looking at a Week 2 victory here for Tiffin. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Week 2 of ECAC. I am Sam Tonks. Joining me once again is Nerds. And Nerds, I mean Split. That was a bit of a bloodbath, but we do have Breeze coming up, and we're feeling hopeful, right? A whole different play style.
I'm extremely hopeful. Breeze is a bit more open. The site takes are a bit more dynamic. There's some, I would even argue some sort of changes that happened. Halls being completely open now. I personally like it. I didn't like the previous changes, specifically because it's fun to see lurkers. It's fun to see either on defense players lurking out and how teams adapt to that, or vice versa, how attackers can lurk through halls and have a dynamic split onto A rather than simply going through mid and taking doors. You can have someone pop out from bridge or even open the door and pop out on stairs. Realistically, it is Brooklyn's time to shine here. It's a different map with a slightly different play style. The teams can change up their roles and potentially do some damage here onto Tiffin and take us to Icebox, where you seem to be already comfortable at. Is that a sign for the future?
I'm just chilling here right now, Nerds. Anyways, Agent Select. Hey, Razor. The Yoru. I'm digging this pick. We've been seeing Yoru a lot lately, right?
I like
some grumblings out of the VCT scrims.
Yes.
Yoru's been kind of that pick lately, but Tiffin is just gonna blast it out there. And again, we're seeing the double duelist composition.
And it's not a role swap for the two duelists, which respectful and makes sense. It's not I think it's a same roles for all of Tiffin. They're comfortable with it. Something that I like to look at is like, are they changing their roles? Are they different comfort levels on different maps? On the flip side, we're seeing seeing some a little bit of changes, but also some things that are similar. We're seeing double initiators this time instead of double sentinels, and also I like seeing Viper here. We're seeing Mirror of Viper, and I just realized there's Viper and Cypher here for Tiffin. That feels kind of like, I don't know, Cypher is a sentinel, but I feel like we talked about this where Viper kind of feels like a pseudo sentinel with the utility being placed and not being able to be picked up, especially with that wall specifically.
That's what makes her such a vital piece of the puzzle on Breeze. It's almost a must pick for her. With the long sight lines of Breeze, with how Breeze is set up, if you don't have her, being able to entry onto site is so much more complicated. It becomes a whole completely different game. And if you're not confident in these longer sight lines, you're just asking for a world of hurt. And that's not even factoring into the equation. You know, we're on Breeze. We got Jets. And what do Jets love more than anything in the world other than having an operator in their hand, especially when you're on defense? So if you have that Viper, cut off those angles, cut off those long sight lines, you give yourself that approach. And we're also seeing it up here in mid. Look how far Kira's pushed up. Be able to this is just what we needed to see from Brooklyn. Pure carnage.
The aggression through mid, they saw that Viper wall, immediately allocated resources, took the space. The read to take the pre-fire from Kenny is just so confident here, and that's the confidence we need to see from BC, because otherwise it's gonna go in favor of Tiffin. That's a 2-0. We don't want that. We want to go to Icebox, and also to see these players. Kenny buying up a Phantom. They're buying up fully. On the flip side, Brooklyn also going for I guess a light buy, in the sense where they got some sheriffs through and through. I'm excited to see how the Yoru comes out into play here, especially with the utility, right? You can place down that TP and come back to it for a lurk. You can send it down long and potentially get a flank.
It's looking like whatever's happening here for Brooklyn, switch over, is working beautifully. Maybe they just needed a change of scenery. Maybe they just needed a beachside vacation. I don't know, Nerds, but this feels like a completely different look for what we're getting out of them so far. But we can also not forget about what happened round 2 previous half of the previous map on the second half for Brooklyn, but it looks like they're not repeating that this time around.
They're not, and this is the thing I was talking about. Razor going for the lurk and leaving the TP down back to either regroup or to come with a team, managing to find one as well. The value in that grows.
TP gets them right out the heck of dodge. See if King of the North is going to be... Oh, doesn't even need to be them. Omega was looking in a completely different direction, thinking they were going to go through mid. Rather, it was mid-elbow. Caught them off guard. And now things are so dangerous, where they had the numbers advantage and the weapon advantage that is starting to slip through their fingers, and you're starting to feel the pain of that. Thankfully, though, here for Brooklyn, the spike carrier has been killed while they were trying to get that out. Now, King of the North is going to be the next casualty on the chopping block here from Brooklyn. 16 HP is all that Razor has left. Really, all you can hope for is just these exit frags. The Sheriff in hand, time ticking away. Any chance of winning this round is now gone. Brooklyn making darn well sure they are not giving any kills here.
They're trying to give up off weapons as well. I think the only ending with a Sheriff, and because they forced up and didn't win, it's going to be light shields, a meta that we have seen time and time again. No outlaws this time. Instead, we got marshals and bulldogs to work with, as it seems like BC also needs to not buy up, right? They can't really force up here. Oh no, they're deciding to force up instead. I was gonna say they could force up here, and if they win, it's gonna be really good for them. It's kind of do or die for both teams, going up against a really strong Vandals group. Sorry, I'm lost for words here. Going up against full Vandals, Tiffin is looking to win, just to keep it solid.
Tiffin, speaking of looking to win, the entire party is just walking it up main, and they know on the other side of this where Kenny is with that recon dart. Thankfully, off the swing and a headshot from Kira is keeping Brooklyn's hopes and dreams for their purchase to win this out, but you can't give Tiffin any foothold on these sites. Otherwise, things are just gonna blow up in your face, and Kira has to be feeling the pressure coming up on them. The door needs to, they might want to open up the door. They're going to drop down below, but look at how Tiffin has spread themselves out.
They have most like solid crossfires here through and through, and it comes through on Noodle as well. I was gonna say I like the mid wall here for Brooklyn, right? They have a decent amount of control. They demand that space to make sure that they can't like do splits as easily. But I think that like you mentioned, you can't really give Tiffin too much space and room to work with. They got the plant down. They held their crossfires really well and held their corners really well as well. Just a bit rough here. I mean, it was their round to win, something I mentioned, right? They had to buy up. On the flip side, BC, they decided to buy up as well instead of bonusing, instead of keeping their weapons. And because of that, they're not going to be able to buy here. Only 2 players being able to afford anything, and that's 2 marshals.
Getting these aggressive peeks from Kira. They've been found out. The dash needs to get them the heck out of there. But already, Halls has been won, and now the site itself given up to Tiffin. The only one really left to fight anything out is Asura, but working with that Marshall, and now it's all just... What do you do at this point if you're Brooklyn, if you're the final 2 players with the weapons that you have?
Play for exits.
Okay, you do that.
I mean, the prophecy foretold. Play for exits, try to find some players.
Playing something good here. But Noodle only has so many bullets to work with. And once they're gone, their life joins it along with them.
8.
We are looking at a tied series, nerds. It's 2-2.
2-2. And also, I mean, they got their 1-for-1s, so solid plays here for Brooklyn. At this point, they have a buy-up as well to work with. It might be a completely different game here, a bit more even. Kira not having a buy up, instead going for an op. The jet op we talked about, but this time on defense op. Not a fun thing to be looking at if I'm Tiffin here. They do have a Euro ult here as well, potentially to spot out the op and spot out any players on site for their take.
The wall comes up. It may actually, but it's that one ultimate though was good enough
to clear
out C in its entirety. And then at that point, Tiffin just needs to get on there, plant the spike, and hold off on the left side of the map. There's really nothing that they have to worry about. when it comes to fighting up against Brooklyn, because they basically just gave up the site for free. So now we're going to have to look and see how the site retake is going to go. That's a fantastic, phenomenal start, and it just continues to roll further and further here for Brooklyn. There's still a long road left to go. I'm loving the layering of the utility that we're getting out of this team now, and Brooklyn is fighting back hard. There's still Han Solo Burger alive against Asura. We know that. What a shock dart! What a shock! You saw that sailing right in to their target, and Asura weren't able to clutch it out and split, but
they were able to do it now.
They did it.
Picking up the op, great teammates. Like you mentioned, the layering of the utility was great. That wall, I believe, fell down right as the flash came out, absolutely bamboozling players on site, which was immediately followed by some picks and some swings off of BC. And for Brooklyn, that is a round well worth it here, because they're starting to stagnate the economy of Tiffin. It's getting later into the game, so it's going to be harder if they do go off on a tear. And they also, unfortunately, they reset their loss bonus, so they're not going to have as much money, but they keep the op, they keep some weapons in hand, and they're on defense breeze. So there's some potential here for either playing retakes or just holding off in some rat angles and trying to find things out. Now, without the Yoru ult, dedicating the Sova drone instead. But as you can see, with Omega's placement, it's not perfect.
Not buying into the Yoru clone either, and the operator has decided to make their way over. Asura's gone. The battle in mid, Crow's Nest is out of here. Thankfully, you still have Kira landing their shots with that. It couldn't have been more than a split second for Omega. The shots are going off. And in a surprising turn of events, I mean, Brooklyn was down and the weapon advantage, but they still standing tall against Tiffin up in the air. You've got to be kidding me. Kira lands the headshot. Now left all alone. Signal has 35 HP. They need to go for it. Perfectly well done, perfectly executed.
I agree.
Brooklyn, but nerds, not only have they met the previous map, but now they've exceeded it in the rounds they've won.
True. I like to play out a noodle. I was brimming at the tip of my tongue here, because Sova ult is online, most likely playing further back, trying to capitalize off of it. Just when they tap, you pop the Sova ult, you get them off the bomb. Immediately recognize Noodle pushes out and catches them off guard. Strong plays here from Brooklyn as they're changing up the dynamic. Now, Kira, unfortunately, light shields not being able to buy up, but it's basically a full buy going up against a really shattered, broken even for Tiffin. They have a Vandal, they have a Stinger, they have a Marshal, and a Sheriff. That is a variety of different weapons and places. The one thing they also have is they have King of the North on the Blade Storm. I want to see how much damage they can do.
Kira. They got their toe shot a little bit there. 5 HP, one stray bullet is all that's needed to catch them. They heard enough of the footsteps through the poison orb, but it does not matter. Their efforts all in vain. Maybe it may just be good enough that one pick could give Brooklyn College a sight line back into this fight, but the sights are getting dimmer, the light becoming darker. Tiffin University needs to go for the final remaining player. One more operator shot rings out. McKinney, unawares that King of the North is king of breeze with that operator. Tiffin University getting another round one, but still Brooklyn in the lead.
They had a good push in on site. They played solidly off of each other. Just things that we've seen time and time again from the previous map on Split for Tiffin. On the flip side, Brooklyn, they had a better buy. They kind of had what they needed, but unfortunately, because of the ultimate investment for Tiffin, it was really hard to contend with. That Sova ult finding one off rip, as well as the Blade Storm, took two of their players down. Oh, no time to analyze. Just immediately takes out Kenny down mid with immaculate crosshair placement.
Okay, all right. Yep, you just do that with an operator, an attack operator. And King of the North is still going to go for these, right? Kira's just giving it to them easily as now. Okay, creamy gunk sauce. You had the knife out. Asura saw you there, but you still did enough damage. It doesn't really matter at that point. A Signal is hitting headshots as cleanly as they are. And now you're leaving Noodle in this 1v4 scenario with but just a Sheriff. You strike the clone, flashed out. Nothing really left to be seen here. Noodle trying their best, but their best is in the face of King of the North. TU tying things up.
They tie it up 4-4, and looking at the score right now, it's been going 2 rounds, 2 rounds, 2 rounds, 2 rounds. They're hitting their max loss by bonuses and then winning out here, but also they're adapting some of their strategies. I wonder really how BC is going to adapt here, because the previous adaptations were taking space, being aggressive. We still see the same Viper wall down mid, but a lot less players, so potentially using that as conditioning so they don't push out. They did that previously with that Viper wall, but it was just shot through, it was pushed through. Tiffin just not respecting it, just being like, hey, we know they're most likely not here, and we could just take that space. Speaking of taking space, the Yoru ult coming out again.
Razor's clone gives them free purchase. Oh, flashbang. They didn't get the kill on Kenny. They still do have the get out of jail free card, and it just goes even, bro. Oh my God. King of the North,
attack
please give them a break. Give them a second to breathe.
He got that for free as well, picking it up the previous rounds and just ecoing it round after round.
It's just piece by piece. The puzzle is fitting into place for Tiffin. Kira, what have you got for us, my friend? What can you do? You can at least dethrone the king for the moment.
Does some damage?
It was a lot of damage, and it was a tall order to ask, regardless of pretty much anyone, I think, nerds.
Yeah,
but it's still
you are
Tiffin in the lead.
It's a rough spot to be in at this point, and this is a lot closer of a game. This is also Tiffin's pick, so I feel like even though it is a closer game here, they're a bit more comfortable playing this map. And at this point, I mean, at this point, right, they have less buy for BC. They're in a rough spot here as their team is kind of, they had a couple of moments of success, but now they're going up against a powerhouse. The adaptation will happen either this round or next round, more specifically when they buy up next. I feel like that's when we're going to start seeing it. But just from Tiffin, they've been doing a really good job of just clearing spaces and just taking it without remorse and being comfortable with taking it without any consequence.
I love this from Creamy. Look at the way that they played this. They knew that the drone was in mid. It came out of Crow's Nest. But they still look towards B because they know that no one's going to try and fight them. May have overextended their welcome a little bit too long, and Kenny is going to kick their guest out of Crow's Nest. But look at how much space they were still able to gain and how far Tiffin has pushed up in mid. And once you give them these opportunities, they're going to run away with it as best they can. It was just unfortunate that Kenny hits the clone. Wait a minute, though. Wait a minute. Omega, one right there. And then on the other side of this, Noodle. And the way that we're seeing Brooklyn working together as a unit, as a team.
I was going to say not only the lurk, but also the Yoru utility coming out together to really take that space towards mid. Tiffin tried to take the space mid, but considering that they've kind of stopped, like in the first round, right? Opening round, inaugural one, they all rushed down through mid and they've been putting up the same Viper wall each time. Now, that wall demands so much space, and they were able to control it for a long time. But knowing that it is basically their weak point, right? They're not taking and not having that many players there, Tiffin decides to push. Last round, they pushed, it didn't work out well for BC. So BC on this time are cognizant of that and aware that they could get pinched through mid and decided to do pinching themselves, coming in from both A and from B to surround them.
I'm just hoping that we have a map on our hands, though. This is 5-5, the most we've gotten out of this. And Kenny, again, is going to win out on this duel, whether it's Crow's Nest or inside of Halls. The sky is coming up big time, big ways here for Brooklyn. Noodle, blinded flash. It looked like they were going to go for something there, but the play was denied by that flashbang. Kira still does have the operator. Whoever comes back through here, the Hunter's Fury, perfect usage to flush them out of there. But you still gotta fight through the rest of Tiffin, who has the spike planted. Kira's ready to go toe-to-toe. It's a 2v2 now, and guess what? This Sova has the Hunter's Fury of their own. They try to go for the defuse, and it's going to be stopped by that. Exactly. You ping it, but now you need to look behind you. Asura needs to go and try for that spike defuse, but there's nothing left. All that's left is to get these exit frags as best you can. They get the one there. A heartbreaking moment for Brooklyn, but you still gave it your all.
I want the layers to push in with the Sova ultimate for BC was just showing how they're adapting and changing their play style. I mean, 5-6 is nothing to scoff at, especially from the previous game, being able to win out more rounds in this game and potentially evening things out for that second half if they can win this one. 5-7, still a great scoreline. But the thing I want to mention is just Tiffin being so smart about their utility. Because Halls is open, Sova just takes that space in Halls, and ulting from there just throws BC off guard. Because, you know, you in traditional maps without places like that, they're either playing from T side or they're on CT side, right? There's generally a understanding, but in this situation it throws them off long enough to not only delay that defuse, but also find a pick for Tiffin.
Here.
Oh, good comms. The Cypher knows. Cypher knows Cypher trips.
Oh, yeah. You just walk right into that. Omega wants to go for the swing. Han Solo Burger wins out in that fight, but only 10 HP. It's going to hurt them. King of the North is just not going to let this. This is an iron grip that Tiffin University has. The last one they won bloodied. This one they are winning as convincingly as they can. But Kenny throwing up tons of surprises from the Sky player, where they're kind of quiet in the previous map. They're coming up in, again, these ways, these hero plays from Brooklyn, but you can only rely. Oh my goodness gracious. I would have lost my mind had that gone in Kenny's ace, had they been able to pull it off. But they don't.
Strong.
Yeah, they don't. And now Tiffin gets that first half, 7-5.
That would have been a really interesting thing to see. Unfortunately, don't get to see it. Kenny cannot win it out. But I do still believe in Kenny because that was some solid plays coming out of them. One thing I want to mention for Tiffin, the way that they pushed onto that site, using the Euroclone to hit the trip, using the Viper to swing out of that, even though the Viper did get caught, right? Han Solo Burger still being able to take advantage of the chaos. From there, they just managed to take that site. Kenny's a solo play popping off, but still, on the flip side, Tiffin just being able to lock it down and playing off each other's trades when they have the numbers. Now, on the flip side, this is where we're going to see, I think this is where we're going to see BC take some damage. I would love to see that, especially because they have double initiators. And double initiators, I feel like that, you know, having flashes and information from Sova, it works. Especially, oh my, even look at the Sova utility, immediately breaking that trip for their push on to B.
5-7 first half. Tiffin University in the lead. Brooklyn has their walls, their backs against the wall, rather. It's still a moment where tensions are very high for this team. Not being able to win out on Breeze is going to cost them this series. It's going to cost them week 2 of ECAC. And Tiffin University is in such a good position, but now we're seeing how their attack is going. We're not seeing that kind of, oh, wait, Banoodle had the drop on Han Solo Burger, but they're so desperate to put down the cage to try and protect themselves. They weren't cognizant of the stairs that Han Solo Burger was more than eager and ready to push. Brooklyn is going to suffer the first blood loss. Tiffin University is going to translate that into more and more. Walk right into the tripwire. Dreamy Gung Sauce is still alive. They're flashed out. They're looking all over the place, all around them. They're still walking away with massive amounts of victory. One player getting away with 3 kills, almost single-handedly, it feels like, nerds, defending this site.
Solid retake. Honestly, just Tiffin, since we've seen it on Split, we've seen it here, they're really solid with their retakes on how they take their space, and very comfortable, it seems, with just allowing players to swing together. Like, you swing one and immediately another player is going to be there. For BC, it's a bit rough. Good on Asura though for breaking that utility and being able to utilize it to flood in with multiple pieces of that utility. It's just a bit rough, especially for B, because they're, as you can see, stacking A, leaving site to B, retaking it. I feel like B, once taken, it's kind of like easier to retake, I would say. Even though it has less avenues, it feels less open. For some reason, it's easier to retake because there's less avenues in some cases. Oh, not getting the trip this time, though.
Oh my goodness gracious, creamy Gung Sauce. B is their side, and if you want to take it, you are going to be paying in all of your blood. And they are still going, finally being brought down, but on their third kill. They got away with 3. And now Kenny, 21 HP in a dream, but the dreams turn to nightmares. Tiffin University, 9 rounds won.
And this, I mean, they won 2 in a row. I was gonna make a comment like, oh, BC, they win the pistol, they can win the bonus, it's gonna be 7-7, it's pretty even. And I guess just the mere thought of it kind of brings it to existence, but this time in reverse. BC not able to win out. They do have the bye this round, so some adaptations come out there. Light shields as well. In comparison to, you know, Tiffin, who's up a couple of rounds here. They're up by 4 on the start of this half. I feel like it's a bit rough for them as well because BC, right, this isn't their map pick. Tiffin kind of picked this. They're comfortable on this map even more so than Split. So I feel like it's going to be a lot harder.
Oh my god. It was hard. Difficulty level is now rising as Tiffin continues to cleave through Brooklyn. And Asura is all alone. And where they were all alone, they are all gone. If you wanted a convincing showing of Tiffin University, well, you've just gotten it out of this bonus round. And Han Solo Burger was the one to kick things off here. As Tiffin steps into the double digits once more.
I like the wall that was placed for mid again, just to like take that space. It's a little bit different from the wall we saw on the first half of the game for defense. Right, Tiffin's taking that wall and I would say even more space by having it vertically cut through mid, just being able to play out there comfortably. On the flip side, for Omega, that wall was really deep into A, which demanded a lot of space, but also once taken, it just kind of like fell apart a little bit, right? They pushed through that wall really confidently, and they managed to take the space back without much resistance.
King of the North wants to go for it again. They want to be the ones to start things off. They want to be the one to pull the ripcord. And King of the North, they pull. Oh, okay. It was pulled hard, but Kira pushing back even harder, it felt like. And that was just like a reaction time of milliseconds, nerds, it felt like. And you're relying on a Guardian to be able to accomplish that kind of skill. But it may be thrown back into their face. Thankfully, again, Kira is going to be the one to bail Brooklyn out. It's Razor alone. This is Razor we're talking about. Razor is an insane player in and of their own rights. Brooklyn is still not out of the woods yet.
Oh, it gets spotted out here. Does have a decent amount of utility though on the push.
And they're using it. Oh,
strong utility.
The 1v1. Tiffin winning here is going to break the backs of Brooklyn. And you're forcing Kira to have to switch over to pick up the spike. Bullets are ringing out, but if you need the clutch genes, Razor has got it in spades.
And just that, I just love the way that the util was placed, right? If you send out a Yoru clone, right? 9 times out of 10 people are either not going to shoot it, or unless they're already shooting, pre-firing. But using the flash, investing it, even though Razor was not peeking, gives more validity to it. Realistically, if you're flashing out of a smoke and then you see a Yoru out of there, that's most likely the player. And then it just using that to get Noodle and then just out aiming Kira, unfortunately. It's one of those things where it's like Tiffin is just a bit stronger here. I think for BC does have a decent amount of room to work with though. I still believe in the double initiator composition here.
And the North has an operator, and that scares me.
Oh, BC?
Just a smidge. It doesn't scare me if the operator isn't here to actually be able to fire any of those very valuable shots, even in the hands of someone like King of the North. Wreaking havoc in the backline was Razor, but Havoc has been contained to that one spot, really only sacrificing the one. This is Brooklyn's best chance of being able to take a round. The spike has been planted. They just need to make sure that they don't give up any heads to King of the North. It's still a potent combination they have to work against here. These two players are not going to work away from each other, but Omega getting antsy. Wants to take the fight, wants to take the haymaker to Tiffin, and they do.
Great swing, catching them mid reload, hearing that, be like, all right, we're gonna swing here, finding one, and then the spray, I'm assuming a spray transfer over. Picking up the first round in this half, 4 rounds in. A bit rough, but hey, on the flip side, they have the weaponry here, and they have a decent enough economy that they have some room to work with. They can breathe out. On the flip side, there is a little bit less room to work with here. They do have an op for defense, which is still really strong, but because they needed to buy up here, light shields on Signal, and I'm assuming even maybe a light utility on some of these players. Yeah, even King of the North not able to purchase even a second Cloudburst, which can trickle through the entire team here for Tiffin.
Up in their air. You know, the King of the North is in mid, but I don't know if they have the recognition that this operator is still something that they need to be wary of. You have to be counting your lucky stars right now. Go out and buy the lottery ticket. But it may not matter, because look at where Razor is.
Oh,
okay.
Oh.
All right.
Investing in a
the
deeper
string has been
flank
pulled.
there.
Yeah, it's gonna become an almost impossibility here, even for
Not
the likes
for
of
Kenny?
Kenny. You gotta look at what you're going up against.
Oh,
And
there's
you're being
there's
swarmed
3
all
of
over.
them there. And I just want to commend Razor for taking that deep flank, being like, all right, I can TP here safely, and then they're safe there, and just taking their time with the flank instead of just running at it. When the site execute started, being able to find extreme value out of that, and just the 3 peaks, the 4 peaks, the players for Tiffin, they're just working together on these retakes here. It's interesting as well, Creamy Gunk Sauce leading the charge. I think is the second time they're leading the charge here. They were really high up in the KDA when it came to split, and even now they're still a very high KDA.
The map point, not only that, but series point. And Tiffin University is full speed ahead. They want to take this win, and they want to go ahead and call it a night. Noodle on the back approach. It's going to take a smidge of damage there. A little bit of a punch back, but guess what? Right up from behind once more. And now for Noodle, the unenviable position of standing to a 4-player Tiffin University. They did hear the zip line, but guess who is always there to be the knife in the dark? Tiffin University 13-6 on Breeze, 2-0 in this series.
Well, we don't get to see Icebox, unfortunately, but that was a, I would say, a closer map for Breeze. It was, I know, I'm sorry, Sam. Well, we do get to talk a little bit about Breeze and how it played out here differently. We did get to see some changes and adaptations from Brooklyn. They did a lot better on that defensive half. Unfortunately, not coming together on attack. I think that kind of comes down to both the dynamic duelist duo with Razor and King of the North, but it also comes down to Creamy Gunk Sauce, who just did amazing on that Sentinel role, surprisingly taking a lot of gunfights and winning them out.
Yeah, I mean, look at Creamy Gunk Sauce, 24 kills, 13 deaths. That kind of plays that you get from a Cypher is always something that you wonder what's going on there, right? They had their Wheaties this morning or something, but you know, usually typically think of the duelist, but this is also Breeze, right? Breeze is that kind of map where a Cypher, we saw it just completely lock down B site, and there was nothing, it felt like, that could be done to uproot them. And when you finally got rid of them, guess what? The entire team was there to save the day and
of course
push the rest of them all away. But we are going to try and search for an interview from the winning team, Tiffin University Varsity, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, everyone, but unfortunately, we do not have an interview for this evening, so we're gonna go ahead and call it here. I know, nerds, I'm crying. I'm gonna write this down in my journal tonight. This is just ruined. I'm ruined, but I still want to get your final thoughts before we close things out here.
Some final things that I kind of like, I noted this as we were playing along. Something I wanted to ask actually, Tiffin, was how do they feel at that half? Because generally, right, this was the most rounds that BC has won. It was 5-7 on the half. It was a little bit uncomfortable, but they also picked Breeze. So having that dichotomy, I kind of was like, Tiffin is most likely comfortable here. It's going to be a solid matchup regardless. Tiffin picked this map, picked Breeze, and we don't really see that too much out of a lot of collegiate teams. We see a lot of Ascent, we see some Sunset, we see Lotus, even Split in the rotation, and then it's kind of a toss-up whether there's going to be Icebox or Breeze, but realistically, Breeze is not the first choice. If Breeze is the first choice for anything, it's the first choice as a ban. So the fact that they picked it means that they've most likely been, they've been training on it, they've been comfortable on it. So I'm like speculating throughout, this is only the second week. So how is it going to develop throughout the season? Are they going to continue on with Breeze? Are they going to stop? These are a lot of questions that I have for myself, for fellow casters, and for everyone in the audience. But on my thoughts, I think it was a good game for both teams, a lot to learn and a lot to play, and I just enjoyed seeing some amazing Valorant.
We did get amazing Valorant. We got so much out of tonight, which is crazy. It's only week 2 of ECAC, so make sure you go ahead and hit that follow button so you get notifications to when we go live again, because tomorrow we have ECAC Rocket League starting at 6:30 p.m. EST, as well as ECAC Overwatch at 8 p.m. EST. Thank you all so much for watching. From myself, Sam Talks, and Nerds Corner. Of course, a big thank you to our behind-the-scenes production staff for making us look and sound as good as we do. We'll see all of you tomorrow night.